Hey y'all. Hey. So I want to come on and make a video and talk about what do you do when somebody has a party or tries to have a party in your Airbnb. Like, how do you handle that? How do you get them out? Do you cancel them? Like, what do you do? Right? So if you have a guest who you suspect is attempting to have a party, or if they're in the act of actually having a party, what you can do is essentially first, I try to communicate through the app to the guest. Hey, what's going on? Do you have some friends over? We've gotten a complaint about the music. Just somehow, bring it up to the guest, and maybe they'll be like maybe they're in the building, maybe someone did call them, whatever, right? So the time that we actually had a guest trying to have a party, we got a call about loud music coming from our apartment. And so, which prompted us to start looking at our camera. We have a ring outside that door. So we started looking at our camera, and we noticed like a small trickle of people. It was one or two here and there, but those people add up because they weren't leaving, they were just coming. And so we messaged the guest because she asked if she can have some friends over, and we asked her how many, and she said 5. Sure, no problem, as long as they're not staying over and you adhere to the quiet hours. Well, that guest was having a Sweet 16 party for her daughter, right? Do we allow parties? No, we do not, right? We do not allow parties in our units. So, we messaged the guest and say, hey, we got a complaint about loud music coming from the apartment. If you have music on, could you please turn it down? Again, how many guests are you going to have over, right? Because it's like, we can see, we can count, right? But just, again, asking the guest. So the guest didn't respond. I'm like, okay, no problem. We tried to call, she didn't respond. So then we see more people coming, and it's getting later. So at that point, we went over to knock on the door. As soon as you get off the elevator, you can hear their music. Knock on the door. She opens the door. The music is like blaring, it's loud. It's like 20 people in the apartment at this point. And so we're like, hey, you cannot have a party. You need to turn the music down. This is not okay. Right? So then at that point, we get Airbnb involved because we don't want to get into it with guests, right? You don't want to get into a physical altercation or even a verbal altercation. We have all the proof that we need. Let's just call Airbnb. So we call them, and took us about 45 minutes, honestly, to get it resolved with them, get somebody on the phone and get them to intervene. So they canceled the guest. They called the guest and told them that they had to leave, and so the guest, then she's upset, what's going on? We're not having a party. I don't understand. We turned the music down. Now she can respond to us on Airbnb. And so at that point, there's nothing else to discuss. Your reservation has been canceled by Airbnb. You need to leave, right? So we let them know, hey, your reservation has been canceled. You need to vacate the premises. You got an hour, right? And so a few people, did they leave? I don't even know if they started leaving. I think more people started coming. And so at that point, my property manager sits downstairs on the first floor waiting for them to vacate, to leave the premises. Once we noticed that they weren't leaving and actually more people started coming, I think 2 more people were showing up. We called the police. Went to the door, knocked on the door with the police. And at that point, they were literally just sitting there. They're not packing. They had people bringing pans of food, bringing more than gallons of juice. Could have been liquor, I don't know what it was. But they're literally just sitting there. The music wasn't on. They had a 360 camera that someone had brought in. You were having full intentions on having a party. So the police is like, hey, you guys have been canceled. They asked you to leave. You need to leave. And so at that point, they started gathering their things and they left without a problem. So if you ever have a guest that is trying to have a party, communicate with them through the app. Try to call them. Right? You need to have some type of proof. Just in case, cover your ass. Have some type of proof. And I'll get into that later as far as having cameras on your property. Okay? That needs to be disclosed that you actually have cameras. You can't just have cameras and the guests don't know about it. Okay? So you need to have some type of proof. Of course, if there was some type of party or, gathering going on that was unauthorized, right? We never authorized her to have any type of party with loud music. It says that multiple times throughout our listing and in our house rules. So after you try to communicate through the app and you try to call or whatever, then you get Airbnb involved. Get the authorities involved. Do not try to go and break up a party on your own, right? Because you don't want it to turn into something more than what it has to be. I've seen that where people try to confront people having a party, and I think one of the people that was in the apartment had a gun. So again, don't put yourself and your family in harm's way over something like this. Call the police. Call the police, call some type of authorities or someone to help you remedy the situation so you're not putting yourself at harm's way. And again, I don't want you to get into any physical fights or altercations with your guests. And yes, if they leave a review based off them getting kicked out for having a party, you can absolutely have that review removed. Okay, so don't worry about, oh my God, they're going to leave us a bad review. At some point, you're going to get a bad review. That's just the nature of the beast, y'all. At some point, you're going to get a bad review. But if they are leaving you a bad review based off them getting kicked out and violating your house rules, you can have that removed, okay? So that's what you do if a guest tries to have a party in your unit. Definitely get Airbnb involved so they know what's going on. They can cancel the guest for you. It doesn't count against you when you're going for your superhost status. But do not allow the party to go on, because you don't want to disturb your neighbors, to disturb your community, and people, your unit or your place being like the eyesore of the community, of the apartment building, and people not wanting you there. Do not allow people to have parties at your units. Especially smaller ones, especially ones that like apartments. Don't do it. They can go to an event hall and have a party. They do not need to rent your Airbnb to have a party. Do not allow it. I also believe Airbnb frowns against that. They don't want people to allow parties in their Airbnb because Airbnb unfortunately has that stigma that they allow parties. So do not do it. Get them involved early on and just get the guests canceled. They will cancel. They will not refund them. So you will get to keep whatever money they paid to stay. Okay? Alrighty, y'all. If you like the information that I'm sharing, please subscribe. Share with anybody else who wants to get started in the Airbnb industry. Every week, I'll be dropping a video giving you little tips and tricks on Airbnb hosting, the good, the bad, and the ugly that I've been through. And if you like what you're hearing, subscribe. All right, y'all.